We have a couple of clips of Kamala Harris perfectly articulating the battle that we still have before us, laying into Trump and Vance and showing why the Democratic ticket, no matter who ends up heading it, is the only right decision for Americans moving forward. So I've got them all lined up, and we can start with her speaking on Trump's new VP pick, J.D. Vance.
The former president selected his running mate, the Senator Vance, J.D. Vance. Understand, this is a fellow who in the United States Senate participated in blocking protections for IVF. This is an individual who has said he is for a national and has made every indication that he is for a national abortion ban. And so, again, this is where the power is with the people.
J.D. Vance did not think that women who want to start families but are having trouble doing so deserve to take fertilization treatments. He also doesn't think abortion should be legal at all in any state, and there should be no exceptions for rape or incest. He thinks that children's sexual assault victims should be forced to carry to term. This is a man who wants to strip away the fundamental rights of a woman and be sure that men will forever be in control while also rolling us back to pre-Civil War era times. This pick, if anything, is a signifier of the kind of America that Trump wants and the kind of America that Trump will be attempting to enact if he is elected to a second term.
We believe in freedom. We believe in freedom. Freedom from the government telling us what to do about matters of heart and home. We believe in the right of people to make basic decisions like when and if they will start a family and how. In traveling the country, part of what I point out, which is what we all know, regardless of your gender, think about this. If we, in this year of our Lord, 2024, have a state of being where the government can tell you what to do with your body, I mean, the most basic of things you should have control over, everybody better watch out about what other freedoms you're taking for granted.
And this is exactly right. MAGA loves to pretend that there's no rights at stake in this election. But when you list some, they just say, oh, well, those don't affect me. They don't count. Like this cult member, for instance, who found his way in my comments trying to snidely ask, well, what rights are at risk? I'll wait. So I go on to then just list a couple, right? DACA rights are at risk. Immigrants who were brought here as children that grew up here and only know American livelihood and culture that Trump now wants to deport. Women's reproductive rights, as I just mentioned, are now decided by a zip code. Any woman in a Republican state has no rights. There's 10-year-old rape victims having to flee the states just to receive health care, and some states are trying to make that illegal as well. Asylum rights are under threat, which are protected in U.S. law and international law. They're at huge risk as Trump wants to reimpose the Muslim ban. He wants to deport legitimate asylum seekers and make the asylum standard much harder to reach. Minority groups' right to equality is at risk. Trump and his Supreme Court have already in some ways, but plan to continue to strip away things like DEI and affirmative action, things that remove barriers to equality for these groups, as well as taking away the agencies that process discrimination claims. Trans rights are at risk. Trump pledges to ban gender-affirming care, something that lowers suicidality and depression in LGBTQ youth. He wants to reenact his trans military ban. These are horrendous actions that are just founded on prejudice. And when I laid those out for this clown, his only response was, well, you'd have a case if they were actual rights. And this kind of just shows the patriarchal kind of straight white male thinking where if it's not rights that apply to them, they don't count because you're just different and you shouldn't be.
On Sunday evening, our President Joe Biden issued a call for unity. And there must be unity around the idea that while our nation's history has been scarred by political violence, violence is never acceptable. There can be no equivocation about that. At the same time, the hallmark of American democracy, the hallmark of any democracy, is a strong competition of ideas, policies, and a vision for the future. And just as we must reject political violence, we must also embrace a robust discussion about what is at stake in this election.
Now, when she says this, I want you to remember that this is a woman who was sent a pipe bomb in the mail planning to blow her up pretty much, along with other prominent members of the Democratic Party, like the Obamas, for instance, directly because of Trump's rhetoric towards them. When Paul Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi's husband, was attacked, Ted Cruz, Clay Higgins, multiple elected Republicans, not just those on the right, elected Republicans mocked him, despite the attacker stating he was a MAGA conspiracy theorist and was only there attempting to injure and possibly bring serious harm to Nancy Pelosi. The right still to this day jokes, oh, he was Paul Pelosi's gay lover. I think they've said it so many times now that some of them actually think that that's the facts of the matter. They don't even understand that this dude was a self-proclaimed right-winger trying to carry out for doing it for MAGA. But now they want to cry wolf because the gun that they've been pointing for years got pointed back at them. And I want you to realize the stark differences in responses, not just from Kamala, but from all elected Democrats and how they responded. I mean, when Gretchen Whitmer got kidnapped, the right laughed and mocked her. And now because the FBI had infiltrated the group in hopes to shut them down, they just say, it was the left and the FBI who did it. There's zero accountability taken on their side. And yet our leaders still choose to go high where they went low.